Welcome to The Secret History of Science, Volume 1. This audiobook features the Tesla Enigma, Unveiling the Hidden Legacy of a Genius, one of the 5 captivating stories in this collection. Written by Histogate Media. Before we begin, you can find the complete Volume 1, including all 5 stories, in the link below in the description. Now, let's begin.
The Tesla Enigma, Unveiling the Hidden Legacy of a Genius. Chapter 1. The Lion in Winter, A Death at the New Yorker. In the winter of 1943, Nikola Tesla was a ghost haunting the 33rd floor of the Hotel New Yorker. For a decade, room 3327 had been his cage, his laboratory, and his final refuge. A world condensed into a 2-room suite overlooking the spires of Manhattan. Stacks of notebooks filled with cryptic equations lay on every surface, and the air held the faint, sharp scent of ozone from forgotten experiments. The man who electrified the planet now subsisted on warm milk and Nabisco crackers. He was 86 years old, rail-thin and intensely isolated. His only steady companions were the city's pigeons, whom he loved like family. On January 8th, a chambermaid named Alice Monahan, finally ignoring the Do Not Disturb sign Tesla had hung 2 days prior, unlocked the door. She found him in bed, lifeless. He had likely died on January 7th. The New York medical examiner would later rule the cause of death as a coronary thrombosis, a blood clot in the heart. It was a quiet, lonely end for a man whose mind had crackled with lightning. But the silence of his death was a deception. Outside room 3327, humanity was locked in its most savage conflict. World War II raged from the frozen steppes of Russia to the blistering sands of the Pacific. In secret laboratories across America, the nation's brightest minds were racing to build an atomic bomb under the Manhattan Project. In this climate of existential fear, any claim of a revolutionary technology, no matter how outlandish, was a matter of national security. And Nikola Tesla, even in his decline, had made claims that were nothing short of biblical. Pronouncements that, combined with his foreign ties, had already drawn the quiet attention of J. Edgar Hoover's FBI. The world remembered him for alternating current, the system that powered modern life. The scientific establishment, however, had long since dismissed his later work as the ramblings of a man unmoored from physics. In his annual birthday press conferences, once grand affairs, now sparsely attended curiosities, he spoke not of power grids, but of forces that could transform the very nature of warfare. He described his world system, a resurrected dream from his abandoned Wardenclyffe Tower, capable of broadcasting electrical energy wirelessly through the Earth itself. More urgently, he spoke of Teleforce. In a 1934 letter, he had detailed a weapon that would make war impossible. He insisted it was not a death ray, but a focused beam of microscopic particles accelerated to nearly the speed of light. This beam, projected from a ground-based station, could allegedly bring down a fleet of 10,000 enemy aircraft from 250 miles away, creating an impenetrable wall of force around a nation's borders. He called it his peace ray, the ultimate defensive tool to render armies and navies obsolete. He offered it to the US War Department and allied nations, but was consistently rebuffed. The consensus was clear. The idea was fantastic, the engineering impossible. But in the frigid January of 1943, the impossible was being weaponized in labs nationwide. The US government knew better than anyone that the line between fringe science and strategic dominance was perilously thin. Tesla was dead, but an urgent question hung in the air, thick as the city's coal smoke. What was in his papers? In a world where civilization's future was being decided by technological supremacy, the scribblings of a forgotten genius were no longer science fiction. They were a potential asset or a threat that could not be ignored. The silence from room 3327 was about to be broken by the heavy footfalls of federal agents. Chapter 2. The Custodian's Key. Seizure in the Name of Security. News of a death in a New York hotel room rarely travels at the speed of a security bulletin. But Nikola Tesla's was different. Within hours of the discovery, his passing tripped a silent alarm in the corridors of federal power. The first to act was the rightful heir, Sava Kosanovich, Tesla's nephew, who rushed to the Hotel New Yorker to secure his uncle's effects. He was not only family, but also the Yugoslav ambassador in exile, representing a government shattered by Nazi invasion and torn between competing political factions, a fact that made his every move subject to scrutiny. Kosanovich's urgency was a catalyst. At the FBI, Director J. Edgar Hoover, a man obsessed with foreign influence, saw a crisis in the making. Declassified files show that by January 9th, the Bureau was in motion. Agents noted with alarm that Kosanovich, an allied diplomat whose allegiances were considered murky, had entered Tesla's room and removed an unknown quantity of technical papers. An urgent internal memo warned that Kosanovich, having had full opportunity to access the materials, might transmit the information to the enemy. To Hoover, the risk was unacceptable. The plans for a theoretical superweapon were walking out the door. This presented a legal obstacle. Nikola Tesla had been a naturalized American citizen since 1891. His estate fell under the jurisdiction of the New York Surrogates Court, not federal law enforcement. To circumvent this, the government reached for a powerful and legally dubious tool, the Office of Alien Property Custodian. The agency was headed by Leo T. Crowley, one of President Roosevelt's most trusted fixers, a man who simultaneously ran the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and possessed the authority to act swiftly and decisively in matters of wartime assets. The logic applied to Tesla's estate was a masterstroke of bureaucratic warfare. Because the primary heir, Kosanovich, was a foreign national, the Office of Alien Property Custodian declared its authority to act as a custodian to protect the property. This legal fiction was brilliant. It invoked the specter of foreign espionage to justify an action that sidelined the heir and state law. With the stroke of a pen, Tesla's private legacy was reframed as a matter of urgent federal security. At the order of Office of Alien Property Custodian officials, federal agents sealed Room 3327. They seized the hotel safe that Kosanovich had been trying to open. Every document, blueprint, and personal note was now under federal lock and key. The official rationale, offered for public consumption, was to safeguard the estate for the heir. But the frantic reality, revealed in Hoover's internal memos, was fear. Fear that Kosanovich would leak the secrets of Teleforce to the Soviets. Fear that a weapon of unimaginable power lay hidden in those trunks. The US government wasn't just protecting an estate. It was confiscating an arsenal. The contents of Nikola Tesla's mind were now classified property of the United States. Chapter 3. The 80 Trunks of Secrets, Cataloging a Mind. The seizure was not the clearing of a hotel room. It was an excavation. Agents from the Office of Alien Property fanned out across Manhattan, executing a methodical sweep of Tesla's life. Beyond his suite at the New Yorker, they raided the Governor Clinton Hotel and other facilities where he had stored the artifacts of his intellect. The haul was staggering, approximately 80 steamer trunks, crates, and steel cabinets. The physical archive of one of history's most fertile minds. Inside was a chaotic testament to a life of relentless inquiry. There were brittle blueprints for generators, esoteric calculations on cosmic rays, and hundreds of thousands of documents. Alongside scientific papers were volumes of personal correspondence, legal notices, and unpaid bills. Intricate models of his inventions, crafted by his hand, lay beside his formal attire, bowler hats and worn-out gloves. The agents even took possession of his death mask, a plaster effigy cast hours after he was found. It was a complete forensic confiscation of a man's existence. Caught in this whirlwind was Sava Kosanovich. In a desperate act of preservation, he hired Kenneth Sweezy, a science journalist and Tesla devotee, to help him perform a cursory inventory before it all vanished. For a few frantic days, they sifted through the vast collection, hunting for any sign of the Teleforce designs or the keys to his uncle's other radical theories. Their effort was less an inventory than a rescue mission, a race to understand a lifetime of genius before the government could bury it. But they were outmanned and outmaneuvered, helpless observers at a state-sanctioned raid on their family's legacy. This was the moment of betrayal, quiet and bureaucratic. Kosanovic, a diplomat from an allied nation, was not treated as a grieving nephew settling an estate. He was a security threat to be managed. Every request was funneled through layers of federal authority, creating an impenetrable wall between Tesla's work and the public record. Eventually, the entire collection was transported under guard to the Manhattan Storage and Warehouse Company, a massive block-long fortress on 52nd Street. There, the government now possessed the raw material of a mind. Its theories, calculations, designs, and private thoughts. In the darkness of a rented vault, the work of Nikola Tesla ceased to be a scientific legacy. It became a state secret. Chapter 4: The Professor and the Death Ray, an Official Assessment. With 80 trunks of Nikola Tesla's mind locked away, the US government faced a daunting problem. It had seized a library, but didn't know how to read its most dangerous books. The FBI and the alien property custodian were agencies of law and security, not science. They needed a translator, an expert who could separate practical weaponry from esoteric fantasy. The man chosen for this task was Dr. John G. Trump. He was the perfect instrument for the job. A famously pragmatic, no-nonsense engineer, a professor at MIT, and a technical aide to the National Defense Research Committee, he was a pillar of the East Coast scientific establishment. Where Tesla was the ultimate outsider, Trump was the ultimate insider, deeply embedded in the military-industrial apparatus forged by the war. Decades later, his name would gain a different resonance as the uncle of the US president. In January 1943, he was dispatched on a mission of intellectual espionage. Surrounded by the towering stacks of Tesla's life, Dr. Trump conducted his review for 3 days. The timeline itself is revealing. A lifetime of paradigm-shifting theory assessed in less than 72 hours. This was not a deep scholarly analysis. It was a rapid triage at a casualty station for ideas designed to answer a single question. Is there anything here we can use to win the war now? His conclusion, documented in a now declassified report for the Office of Alien Property Custodian, landed with the cold weight of institutional authority. After examining papers on particle beams and wireless power, Trump declared Tesla's work speculative, philosophical, and somewhat promotional in character. He found no sound workable principles or methods for realizing such results. The death ray, he concluded, was a ghost on paper. This verdict, which would define the official narrative for half a century, forces a critical question. Was Trump's assessment a purely objective scientific finding? Or was it colored by the immense pressure of the Office of Scientific Research and Development, the National Defense Research Committee's parent organization? The Office of Scientific Research and Development, led by the formidable Vannevar Bush, was focused on tangible weapons. Radar, proximity fuses, and the atomic bomb. Tesla's concepts, even if viable, would have required decades of research and vast resources the nation could not spare. Was Trump the detached scientist, or the loyal soldier making the pragmatic and necessary wartime call? His report was the perfect bureaucratic solution. It was a formal, expert-backed dismissal that provided the government with precisely what it needed: a justification for inaction. It smothered the internal panic, sanctified the secrecy, and set the official story in stone. The genius had faded, the promise was empty. With a 3-day review and a few decisive paragraphs, one man defined the official fate of Nikola Tesla's most radical dreams. Chapter 5: The Belgrade Files, a Partial Homecoming. The atomic bombs that ended World War II ushered in a new, colder conflict. In an era defined by a frantic brain drain, where the US was secretly importing Nazi scientists under Operation Paperclip to secure a technological edge, The 80 trunks of Tesla's legacy sat in a strange administrative purgatory. Held by the alien property custodian, the files gathered dust in a web of bureaucratic inertia. Dr. Trump's report had neutralized the wartime panic, but in the chess game of the Cold War, the idea of exporting the mind of one genius while so desperately importing others seemed deeply counterintuitive. This official silence was unacceptable to Sava Kosanovic. He was now a government minister for Marshal Tito's Yugoslavia, a nation that had recently broken with Stalin's Soviet Union, making it a communist wildcard the West sought to influence. This new title transformed the conflict. It was no longer just a nephew's plea, it was a formal diplomatic demand. For nearly a decade, he waged a quiet war of attrition against the US State Department, a period during which the entire collection remained fully accessible to American intelligence. Finally, in 1952, Washington relented in a calculated diplomatic move. After the Yugoslav government paid $25,000 to settle estate taxes, the Office of Alien Property Custodian agreed to release the property. The trunks were loaded onto a ship and sent across the Atlantic, destined to form the core of the new Nikola Tesla Museum in Belgrade, a state-sponsored shrine to a national hero. On its surface, it was a triumph of justice, but the homecoming was shadowed by a profound, calculated silence. The critical question was not what was returned, but what may have been duplicated or withheld. The shipping manifests were models of bureaucratic vagueness, listing crates and barrels, but providing no itemized inventory of the documents within. Here, documented history bleeds into reasoned speculation. Is it credible that the US military and intelligence apparatus, having had 9 years of exclusive access to the work of a man who claimed to have designed a particle beam weapon, would simply let it go? It was the peak of the microfilm era, a time when intelligence agencies excelled at clandestine duplication. The 1952 transfer was a masterful piece of political stagecraft. It resolved a diplomatic headache and gave Yugoslavia a powerful symbol of national pride. But it also provided the perfect cover. By physically returning the vast majority of Tesla's effects, the US created the enduring illusion of full disclosure. The Belgrade files became a public monument, their very existence in a museum acting as proof that the secrets were out, all while the most sensitive pages could have been carefully photographed, microfilmed, and filed away in a different, far more secure vault. Chapter 6. The Missing Pages. What Remains Classified. The Belgrade shipment was not an end, it was a pivot, a masterful act of misdirection that held for decades. However, the Freedom of Information Act provided a new key, one that forced a crack in the wall of silence. What emerged from the government's archives was a fragmented, deeply unsettling picture. The FBI files on Nikola Tesla are a mosaic of surveillance reports and internal memos scarred by thick black lines of redaction. Entire pages are whited out, their contents shielded by claims of national security. These are not mere administrative marks. They are deliberate voids, monuments to a decision that elements of Tesla's work remain an active state secret. The files reference other reports that were never released, creating ghosts in the official record, a paper trail leading to a locked door. The most explosive revelation, however, is a documented chain of interest that demolishes the official story. Dr. Trump's 1943 report had supposedly dismissed Tesla's work as useless. Yet the paper trail proves the military's interest was anything but settled. In 1945, documents show the Air Technical Service Command at Wright Field, the nerve center of advanced U.S. military aviation, formally requested and was granted access to Tesla's papers from the alien property custodian. The official verdict was quietly ignored. This raises a tantalizing question. Did the Air Force's scientific advisors, free from the immediate wartime pressures of the Office of Scientific Research and Development, see workable potential where Trump saw only fantasy? This is the factual kernel for the belief that the government's pursuit of Teleforce never ended. According to research by authors like Mark Seifer, this interest coalesced into a top-secret undertaking designated Project Nick. Managed out of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, It had a chillingly direct objective: to explore the feasibility of a particle beam weapon. While the project's existence is documented, its direct reliance on specific unreturned Tesla documents remains the holy grail for investigators and a point of intense scholarly debate. Here, the investigation crosses a threshold, moving from the accessible archives of the FBI to the impenetrable labyrinth of military classification. Any papers deemed vital by the Air Force would never have been left in the Office of Alien Property Custodian's custody to be shipped to Belgrade. They would have been absorbed into the classified ecosystem of the Department of Defense, into the world of black projects and special access programs. What remains classified today is likely not just a few redacted memos. It is a potential shadow library, the technical analyses, feasibility studies, and hidden history of the government's true assessment of Nikola Tesla's most dangerous idea. Chapter 7: The Echo of Stolen Thunder, a Legacy of Secrecy. Secrecy is never a passive act. It is an active force that creates a void, and into that void, narrative rushes in. The true consequence of the 1943 seizure of Nikola Tesla's work was not what was taken, but what was created in its absence, a silence so profound it became a sound of its own, a persistent, resonant hum of conspiracy that has echoed for nearly a century. Every action the government took was a brick in this wall of silence. The legal fiction of the alien property custodian, Dr. Trump's swift and dismissive assessment, the carefully stage-managed homecoming of the Belgrade files, and the black bars of redaction that scar documents to this day, all were deliberate acts of information control. Together, they forged an official story that was technically plausible, but emotionally and logically hollow. The secrecy of the process screamed a different message. Into this vacuum rushed a myth far more powerful and enduring than any government report: the legend of Nikola Tesla as a suppressed prophet. In this telling, he is not just a brilliant inventor, but a modern Prometheus, punished by a fearful establishment for trying to give humanity free energy and an end to war. He becomes a martyr for a future stolen from us. This is the profound human cost of the government's actions. The secrecy has irrevocably warped Tesla's legacy, defining him as much by rumor as by his verifiable, world-changing achievements. For millions, his name is no longer synonymous with the alternating current motor that powers our world. It is a code for a hidden truth. His tangible accomplishments, the bedrock of our technological age, are now treated as mere prelude to the more thrilling drama of his unseen work. The ultimate irony is that the government's efforts at containment achieved the precise opposite of their intent. This 80-year-old lesson is more vital than ever in an age of manufactured narratives. The silence did not bury Tesla's ideas. It consecrated them, elevating his most speculative theories from the realm of engineering into the realm of legend. The story of the seizure of genius thus ends on a stunning paradox. By classifying, containing, and concealing the work of Nikola Tesla, did the United States government do more to ensure the immortality of his most radical ideas than he ever could have himself? The echo of stolen thunder, it seems, is often louder than the storm that created it.
Thank you for listening to the Tesla Enigma from The Secret History of Science, Volume 1. This was one of 5 fascinating stories in this collection. The complete Volume 1 also includes Genetic Engineering, The Silent Pursuit of Control, The Tobacco Conspiracy, The Truth the Industry Silenced, A Poison for Progress, The Story of Leaded Gasoline, and Animal Intelligence, A Scientific Silencing. Each story unveils hidden truths and untold narratives from the world of scientific discovery. If you want to own this story ad-free, along with 4 other investigations, you can purchase the full collection. The links are in the description. Stay tuned for Volume 2, coming soon. Subscribe to this channel for more audiobook content from The Secret History of Science and other series. Thank you for listening.